Jesster Radio. What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in. Got a special guest, Shelby. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
We got Tristan here as well. So Tristan, if you shout loud enough, they'll be able to hear you.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, so thank you so much for coming, and thank you for taking the time out of your day. So I really appreciate that. And you, I don't know how many South African Ifbb pros there have been, but you are obviously an Ifbb pro.
Elite pro, yes.
An elite pro.
Yes.
So that you get Ifbb elite, and then you get Ifbb
the
pro
MPC,
league.
yeah.
MPC,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And what made you choose elite?
I've always been in elite. So before the split of elite pro and MPC, Ifbb was just one big federation. So the first show I ever did was with that federation, and the first few shows I did was before the split, and then there was a split of the two, and I just stayed with Ifbb Elites. I felt like that's where I fitted better, and I like the MPC look as well, but I just felt that that was more look that would fit me, if I could say that.
And then you turned pro after the split, or was it before?
After.
Okay.
Yes.
And what is the difference for those ladies? Because obviously you're a female competitor. What is the difference in terms of the ladies?
The NPC ladies and the
Yes,
okay,
yes.
so the posing is obviously very different. The bikinis are also quite a bit different. The Ifbb Elite tends to go for the higher rise bottoms, whereas the NPC is more on the hips. There isn't any side poses in the NPC, and there's front, back, and both sides in Elite, which I like that as well. I like to be able to showcase all angles. So yeah, that's basically the main difference. And obviously the back poses are different. In NPC, you don't really show your back. The girls' hairs are always over their back. It's basically more just from the glutes down, from what I can gather. Whereas Elite, your hair has to be off your back and you show everything. So.
Personally, I think that's better because then you can showcase your physique that you've actually worked for.
Yes, yeah. No, look, I like the NPC look as well, and I like the posing and all that. I just feel like I personally fit better in Ifbb Elite.
Yeah. Yeah, I say that objectively because I do pretty much stick with NPC anyway. So, Garen, I'm not saying I don't like your federation. So, what year was it that you turned pro?
It was not last year, the year before.
2018.
Yeah, the end of the year, the SA Champs. Yeah, it was definitely SA Champs. I think it was 2018. Yeah, I won my lineup and overalls there, and then I got offered my pro card, which I obviously took. And then Arnold's was my pro debut.
And that was in Spain or somewhere in Europe?
No, that was Arnold's Africa.
Oh, okay.
That was my first pro show, which was my pro debut, obviously. And that was the Arnold's Africa. And then my second pro show was Worlds, which was last year, November, in Spain.
Okay, so everyone obviously in South Africa has a goal of going to Arnold's, even when it's in South Africa. So how have you found Arnold South Africa compared to just any general show overseas?
So actually I feel like the vibe's very much the same. Whenever I've done 3 Arnolds now, 2 of them were amateur, and the last one I did was a pro lineup, and I felt like the vibe's the same at Arnold's Africa as it is overseas. I don't really feel like I'm at home, like on home soil when I'm at Arnold's, because there's so many foreign people there, there's so many people there. There's just massive people, so many different sports going on. There's a huge event, and a lot of international people come in, so it makes you feel like you're in their country.
Okay.
So the vibe's very much the same. It's very professional, and yeah, it's just an amazing event.
That's cool. That shows that the people in South Africa, the organizers, obviously they have help from overseas, but it shows that they are able to keep it up to the standard that it is overseas.
Definitely, yes.
You have obviously, we're actually speaking about this before on the phone, had to train hard for this. Obviously, anyone knows that to build muscle you have to train hard. So
yes.
What, for the girls that are listening, what have you seen that maybe they confuse in terms of training, or they think something should be done a different way, maybe the way you're training, the weight that you put on the bar, that kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
What is the biggest misconception in terms of building muscle for a female?
Okay, well, I say this very open-mindedly, I hope you say that, because I know that there's going to be people that disagree, but like we discussed, there's always going to be people that disagree. I personally, for myself, and what I always try and recommend my clients to do, is if their goal is to grow. I am personally a believer in lifting heavy. I want to feel pain in that way. I want to feel like I can't walk if I've trained legs. I want to feel like I can't hold my steering wheel properly if I train upper body. So I've always had the idea and the mentality that I need to push hard. When I started training properly and more seriously, when I started with Taryn, I was getting into it, and I was scared because I looked at the weight and I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, you know. And as I've got more comfortable and more used to training and all that, I've realized that, like, I just personally believe for myself, and if other girls want my advice to grow, whatever body part it is, I personally believe you need to push that weight as hard as you can. Like, obviously your form needs to be correct. Your you know, for bicep curls, for example, you can't take a weight that's too heavy and then your whole body's kind of swaying. You know, that's not really going to work for you. So as long as your form allows you to go correctly, I'm all for pushing the weight as heavy as you can go if you want to grow.
So you basically say girls need to train like a guy.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's mainly girls always. A lot of girls, I won't say all girls. Females are hesitant to. They think you're gonna bowl. I had a girlfriend when I was in grade 10 who didn't want to even have a sip of my protein shake because she thought that she was gonna put on muscle. Yeah. And I mean, I know I can vouch for Tristan, for myself. Any male, we wish it was that easy to build muscle.
Yes, yeah.
It's difficult for males who have natural testosterone to build muscle. So obviously, it's actually going to be harder for females to build
100%.
Because of the far less testosterone that they have in their bodies.
Yes.
So girls need to understand that obviously everyone's goal is different, but if you have a goal to look like you and to look like people that compete, you do need to lift heavy. I'm not saying you need to try and see how many, you know, what weight you can deadlift for one rep. That's pointless.
Yes, yeah. But having said that, also like we spoke about earlier, some females naturally have more testosterone in their bodies, and you'll see no one's body is the same. So different approaches work for different people. So you could take two girls, for example, like myself. I struggled to grow. It took me quite a while, and like I said, I really had to push to an excruciating point, like where you literally want to cry, you know, that lactic acid build-up feeling.
Yes.
So if you take me, for example, and you take someone that has a lot more of an anabolic environment within themselves, they would probably grow the same rate I would, and get the same results lifting a lighter weight. You know, everyone's different. But if you are someone that struggles to grow, or if you're someone that even grows easily and you really want to get muscle mass, then that's when I say, like, push your maximum, but for your rep range, staying in, like you said, don't go and take a weight that you can only do one rep with. If your coaches told you let's do 3 sets of 12, for example, find a weight that you can push through all those reps for and do your 3 sets comfortably with correct form, but you're still definitely feeling it. It's still challenging you. I always say to myself that the last 2-3 reps I really need to like dig deep to get through those. That's how I like to sort of gauge my weight.
But that, I think you can look at that in any aspect of life. If you look at sportsmen, when they're doing, let's say, sprint training, you're not going to be doing sprint training to have an easy sprint training session.
Yeah.
If you're a professional rugby player, you're not going to be trying to, obviously the way you're training is not going to be an easy way of training. You're going to try to push yourself so that towards the end of whatever you're doing, you're tired, and then you need a point of recovery afterwards. So that's the same as gym. Professional sportsmen will need to push themselves to the max, and then the last 5 minutes of the exercise, they are obviously at their max. So it's the same as weights. You're pushing your weights, and then, you know, the last 2 reps, if you said do 12 reps, the last 10, 11, 12 reps, that's when you're pushing yourself to the absolute limit.
Yeah, if you want to change and get out of that zone that you've been in, you need to do something different. So if you want to do like an exercise on the same weight, like every single session, you know, you're gonna stop changing, you know. So
it is the human body, and the human body adapts like this.
Exactly.
It adapts so quickly that you need to always be constantly stimulating with some other type of stimuli to be able to get it to respond. So I actually saw a crazy transformation photo. You were super skinny.
Yes, I was.
You were tiny.
Yeah.
When was that photo taken?
That photo was taken in. Wait, which one exactly was it?
I think you're in like school sports clothes or like school looking shorts. I don't know.
Was it where I had that like little black dress on with a big white T-shirt? With
Yes.
Okay, there
I obviously didn't look at your pants properly.
I look like a cockroach. That was quite a long time ago, a good few years ago. I was quite young there. But I used that picture purely because you can see by my genetics there, I am really tiny. I mean, like I never picked up weight easily until I sort of got a bit older. You know how female bodies work, that you tend to pick up weight easier as you get older. So I would really struggle to pick up weight then. Like I had to be on special shakes and stuff to help me pick up weight because I weighed 29 at one stage.
Sure.
I was very sick at the time then. I had tick bite fever, but I mean, even after that and before that, I weighed around 34 kilograms.
See, the fact that you weighed that shows how difficult it is for you to put on muscle.
Exactly. Muscle's not very big in my family. If you look at my parents as well, they're both very lean. Their body fat's very low, but they're not tremendously muscular. And like my dad, for example, he's done the Ironman like 13 times. So when someone says that, you'd think them to look like quite big, but he's not that big. He's just in shape, and I mean, he's got his muscle, but he's not huge. So it's not in my family. There's a lot of height in my family, but there isn't size in my family. No one in my family is very muscular and strong. So for me to have broken away from those genetics was, I really had to, like I mentioned earlier, push my boundaries.
Definitely. I'm actually glad Tristan is here because I want to talk about him actually. So you obviously, I know from my personal perspective, but obviously it's different for females because girls get it a lot more from guys. I'm sure as a competitor, as someone that obviously shows their body through social media, you must get a ton of guys, and I'm sure Tristan, maybe he feels very proud, but also he gets irritated at the fact that there's tons of guys that are probably messaging you inappropriately, and obviously it's easy in Instagram's terms because they're in the request folder, so they don't even know that you've seen it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's difficult for you to be able to, you know, deal with the amount of dirty people. I'm sure there's females that do it, males that do it. Everyone does it. Obviously not everyone, but everyone gets it.
Yes, yeah. So in the beginning, around the USN Face of Fitness time when I won that, I did get like a little warning that, you know, that's probably going to come. And it did start to come, and I was quite horrified at like the first experiences. I was like, oh my word, like this is hectic, you know, because once you're out there more, you know, if you put yourself out there, girl or guy, you must be prepared to get it, you know, you can't like, so in the beginning I was like, yo, like, this is hectic, but this sounds bad, but like I'm actually used to it now. Like I say to Tristan as well, you know, obviously being on his end, it's not always the easiest thing for him to have to see a guy speak to me, like,
of course,
you know, whether we know them or not, like, you know, it's so we both just like turn a blind eye to it, and if something's very inappropriate, I won't respond. If it's like way out of line, I won't respond. But sometimes, you know, often there's just guys saying well done, or how's your prep going, or just nice things, or giving a nice like compliment, not in an inappropriate way. And we both have no problem with that. You know, they respect the boundaries, and I can't say, oh, everyone that messages me is trying something. Like, that would be unfair, you know. Like, maybe that person's just genuinely interested in my prep, or what I'm doing, or what I'm drinking, you know, with my intro workout or whatever, like, you know. And with that, I have absolutely no problem. Or guy giving a nice, friendly compliment. I appreciate that. I've got no problem with that. But if it's something, and I will always reply to that. I know that I take a long time to reply. I'm terrible with that. But if it's something like wildly out of line, like some, you know.
And I know Tristan's also got them from other guys as well, because it's always guys that, obviously you get the 1 in every 10 is a female, maybe 1 in every 100, but there's guys send inappropriate messages to guys send inappropriate messages to girls. It's very seldom that it comes from a female. But obviously Tristan, being in the industry as well, has also experienced the same thing from guys as well.
Yeah, no, he has, and from girls as well. And you know, I always say to him, like, I don't care what any girl says to him, how he responds, if he's going to lead something on, and vice versa. If a guy messages me very inappropriately and I entertain it, you know, I'm at fault, because I'm in a relationship, and you know, it's my duty and my responsibility. This is where I choose to be, so I owe that person that loyalty and that respect. And obviously, if you're in a relationship with someone, you shouldn't be entertained by someone else. So that's basically how I see it. If it's a nice, friendly compliment, there's nothing wrong with it, or they're just saying like, you look good, whatever, then cool, I'll reply and I appreciate it, thank you. But if it's way out of line and disgusting, then I'm going to ignore it.
That is what's nice about Instagram, is the ability to be able to not even not accept the message. And then those people don't even know that you haven't read it. You've recently, I don't know if you're 100% recovered yet, but you've been injured.
Yes.
And how did that happen?
Okay, so about 7 years ago, I was very big into my athletics, and I was actually preparing to go to essays for 400 meters.
Okay, what is your time? Just out of interest.
To be honest, I honestly can't remember.
Because I used to love athletic. Well, I hated athletics, but I was kind of good at it at the sense that I used to, when I did well, but I hated the practice part of it.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to
So my goal was to get to essays, and I had my own coach, and he trained me, so I could probably get the times from him.
Okay.
But so I after school every day I'd go to the Oval to train. And the one time I didn't have my spikes, so this is how the doctors think that the accident happened. I didn't have my spikes, so I ran on the tartan track without. And obviously the laps, it started to shred my feet a bit underneath, and I could feel that there was a bit of blood there. So I tried to run on the outside of my foot, and they say that most likely pulled something up and tore the tissue in my labrum and my hip.
Sure.
So I explained to them that when the doctors asked me what have I done differently or whatever, I said that's the only thing where I can recall pain being inflicted. So when they did further scans and all that, they found that my hip bone was cracked as well, which they said was just from overuse from training and all that. That wasn't from that specific incident. So it's basically all my fault. I shouldn't have run like that, but I was just trying to make up for it. And anyway, long story short, I had a 7-hour operation to sew that tissue back together, and I was out of athletics for a year.
Sure.
So when I recovered and I could start training again, and after all the therapy and stuff, I just thought, I'm so far behind now from where my competition is, and I kind of lost that spark for it. So I just left it, and did other small things, and I started training, and my dad insisted that I get a personal trainer at the gym. I was still in school at this time. Get a personal trainer at the gym, which I did. I got my personal trainer, Anva, and he helped me because my dad wanted someone there that knew what they were doing while I was training, to make sure that I was training correctly.
To ninja yourself again.
Yes, yeah. So Anva started helping me a lot, and I started seeing progress. And then we discussed trying out my first show, which was actually something that I always wanted to do deep down inside, but I was too embarrassed, and I'm going to be honest about it now. I was too embarrassed to say, listen, I want to do my first show because of how I look. I mean, you've seen some pictures from my transformations. Yeah. Some of those were from around that time in matric and stuff. I was very, very thin. So it was kind of like a laugh. To me, I thought it would be a laugh, if I said that out publicly. And now I've realized, and I just want every other girl to realize as well, it doesn't matter what you look now. You can change, and if that's your dream, you can do it. And you shouldn't let something like that stop you. So I did my first show with him and my second show with him, and then I got a sponsorship with Taryn, and then that's when things started really going uphill and getting more serious and stuff. And long story short, when I got back from Worlds, I took a few weeks off from training, and then I started to train again, and I was really, really getting into it, and I was preparing for Arnold's again this year in Africa. And in about late Jan, Feb, I started getting really bad pain in my lower back and my hip. You can ask Tristan, it was so bad that I would be in excruciating pain, and I like to believe I've got a high pain threshold, so when I say that pain was sore, it was really bloody sore, yeah. And then the one night I just pushed through it while I was training, because I didn't want to face the reality that I knew what's going on here, because I knew that feeling in my hip, and it's sort of...
Rather pretend it's not there.
Yeah, so I thought it will go away, it'll go away, and I carried on training, and I noticed my lifts were dropping, so my weights were dropping. I couldn't squat or thrust, I was on half the weight that I normally do, so it was a huge drop. And the one night I actually went down to wash my feet in the shower, and I got stuck, and I couldn't really get up. It was more my lower back than my hip. So Tristan rushed me to the ER, and they put me on pain medicine and stuff there, because I think my body just went into shock from all the pain. And after that, I realized I had to see someone. So I went to Synergy Holistics in Joburg, and they literally turned my world around. It was a long time that I was out of training. It was nearly 5 months that I wasn't even allowed to go for walks. I just had to stay put.
And for someone that lives in the gym and lives on being active,
I thought I was going to go crazy, but I actually dealt with it really well. It's been really hard to see myself in the gym now. I've started training. I'm into my 3rd week now. It's really difficult, and to put on tops that I know it's out on my shoulders, and now they're baggy, and pants that are a bit loose around my glutes and all that. It's frustrating, but I mean, at first, like, I cried about it and stuff, and then I was speaking to Taryn, my coach, and I said to her, like, there's actually no point in me breaking my head and crying over it, because can I take it back? No, I can't. So why don't I just, like, pull out my socks and work, because crying about it is not going to bring my gains back,
course,
you know.
yeah.
So let me just rather work towards trying to get back there, and I want to be even better than I've ever been before. And I think that this has lit a fire under me that I thought I had before, but I haven't quite. So.
Okay, and are you able now to train? Obviously, you've just been training now for 3 weeks. How have you been slowly progressing back?
I'm getting there. I'm obviously, my strength's like down the drain. I mean, I'm really, really weak, and the weights that I use are a lot less than what I used to use. But I can't go into a gym expecting to lift what I used to lift when I haven't lifted in 4.5 months, you know. So I need to start at somewhere that's my heavy for now. You know, so like I mentioned earlier, everyone's heavy is different, and my heavy now is not my heavy when I'm at my prime. So I just need to work back to getting there, and I need to be patient with myself and be careful, you know, because we don't want another injury again. So I just, I have to be careful.
And what will you be working towards now, obviously, if you're able to get everything back and, you know, everything's working again?
So basically my end goal.
Well, let's say your closest goal. So your next show, your next photo shoot, something like that.
So I actually chatted to Taryn about my next show the other day, and I told her that I feel it's best now that I actually rather set a goal on getting my muscle mass back to where it was before I say, hey, I'm doing this show. So that's our short-term goal now. Well, not that it's going to take quick, but you know, that's my first goal, let me put it that way, is to get back to the strength that I was at and the muscle mass that I was at, and get better from there and improve from there. So whenever that time happens, I'll see what shows are around there. I definitely want to qualify for Worlds again, because I would love to go back. And so take it as it comes.
Obviously, competing overseas is nothing like it. Obviously, however, you did Arnold's in South Africa, which is obviously a lot better than other local shows in South Africa, because obviously of how prestigious it is.
Yes.
But what did you learn most when you're overseas competing compared to, obviously, okay, let's say before you competed at Arnold's locally, what did you learn when you're overseas?
So my first international show was in 2017. It was the Amateur Worlds in Biarritz in France, and I got quite a vibe when I was there, because I mean, over here the girls are very chatty backstage and friendly, and over there everyone's like to themselves in their own zone. It's, I don't want to say it's hostile, but you know, everyone sticks to themselves, and it's very serious, and there's no like laughing and speaking and discussing things, you know.
Maybe because everyone's a different language.
Very possibly, yeah.
But obviously, because literally it's their career when they're there.
Yes. But obviously, I mean, like, I asked the girls for something, and she was helpful and stuff. If you go to them, like, they're helpful, they're sweet, whatever. But they're very focused. I noticed that they're very in their zone, and you know, it's with their boyfriend or their husband or their coach, and that's that. And you know, they're all